Okay, so today we're going to work on 9-4, factoring to solve quadratic equations. If you recall, we spent a lot of time factoring, I think like right before we left school. So all you do is you factor your equation. These are in factored form, and you set each factor equal to 0. We're still trying to figure out where our parabola crosses the x-axis. So when you factor and you set each factor equal to 0, you are figuring out where your parabola does cross that x-axis. So if you have your coordinate plane and your parabola, we are trying to find the x values of where your parabola and your x-axis meet. So here I have two factors, x minus 9 and x minus 8. I set each one equal to 0, and x minus 8 equals 0. Oops. So if I add 9, I have 9, and here I add 8. This is just solving a simple one-step equation. I'm going to have 8. So then my solutions are 8 and 9. Okay, same thing here. My two factors are n and n plus 2. So n equals 0. That's one of my factors. N plus 2 equals 0 is my other factor. Minus 2, n equals negative 2. So 0 and negative 2. So it means my parabola is crossing my x-axis at 0 and negative 2. Now here's another example, but this one's not factored for us, so we have to factor it. If you remember, we multiply our a value and our c value, right? And you list the factors of that number. So I'm going to do, right, my a is 1 times 10. So if I have 10, my factors of 10 are 1 and 10, 2 and 5. So which factors multiply to 10 and add to 11, my b value, right? So 1 and 10. I rewrite my middle term using those two factors. So x squared plus 1x plus 10x plus 10. And then I group. Okay. So I take out my GCF, x. I'm left with x plus 1. I take out my GCF here, positive 10. I'm left with x plus 1. I take out my GCF. My GCF is x plus 1. And I'm left with x plus 10. If you remember, right, so you see that's repeated in both of them. And then for us who don't visually see the x plus 10, it's right there. And it's equal to 0. I set each factor equal to 0. So x plus 1 equals 0. And x plus 10 equals 0. Minus 1, x equals negative 1. Minus 10, x equals negative 10. So my answers are negative 10 and negative 1. Okay? Let's do one more. I have this problem that I have to factor. So the first thing I do is a times c, right? So 3 times 14, and that equals 42. So I'm going to list the factors of 42. And they need to add up to be 1. So 1, 42, 2, 21, 3, 14, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So here we go, 6 and 7, because it's going to have one negative and one positive, right? Since I have that, my second symbol is a operation. There's a subtraction sign. So I'm going to rewrite my middle term. So I'm going to use -6 and a +7. So 3x squared minus 6x plus 7x minus 14. Take out my GCF here, so 3x. I'm left with x minus 2. My GCF here is +7. I'm left with x minus 2. And then I'm going to have 3x, or x minus 2, and then 3x plus 7. My pen is like lagging. I'm sorry that looks like such a mess. So my two factors are x minus 2, 3x plus 7 equals 0. And you set each factor equal to 0. So x minus 2 equals 0. And 3x plus 7 equals 0. Plus 2, x equals 2, minus 7, 3x equals -7. Divide both sides by 3. X equals -7 over 3. So my answers are x equals 2 and -7 over 3. And those are the 2 points that my parabola crossed on the x-axis.